Hi guys, thanks for checking the video out. Steve Buzza here, and today is my 2018 in the bag video. So my clubs are here, and I'm just going to talk through what I've got in the bag. So I've had massive changes since the last video that I did. And yes, I've changed the product, but I would say this year more so than any other years, I've really changed the specs of my clubs. So you'll notice that I would say the biggest change is I've used C-Taper X shafts for probably the last 3-4 sets I've had. They're a very heavy shaft at like 140 grams. I've gone into the NS Pro Modus 3, still an X, just not quite as heavy. But what I've done, and this is the bigger change I would say, is I'm an inch longer than standard. So a lot of people that watch the videos will see when I'm in my setup I tend to get a little crouched over too much. I would say that's a little signature of my swing, you know, that changing the spec of my irons isn't going to completely remove that. But what I've found is from a fitting standpoint, whereas I've always done things dynamically, whilst doing a static fit, so I looked at my wingspan versus my height, and my wingspan was slightly less than my height. So as a result, I've decided to go slightly longer in a quest to try and get in a slightly better position, should be more functional, and more importantly should be better on my back. So that's the thinking. I have gone to a head that is a standard lie, whereas I was 1 degree flat. If you've ever had a fitting before, when you go half an inch longer, it adds a degree in uprightness of the lie dynamically. So although I've only changed 1 degree down here, I've effectively gone 2 degrees more upright. So my equipment setup, that's a massive change for an elite player. No comment, I am an elite player. So that is the big change. You'll see the grip is the same one I was using. It's the Lampkin UTX. I just like it. If you like it, don't bother changing it. You know, I've stayed in this grip now for a few sets. It's a standard size, but I've actually got 5 layers of tape underneath, so it's effectively playing like a mid-size. I like the grip. They don't do it in a mid-size. That's a way to get around it. So all of this is spec, but what irons have I actually got? So I've gone into the Callaway X Forged. I've gone away from the muscle backs that I was previously using. If you can remember my previous videos, the reason I actually went away from this type of head into the blade was because I felt like I was getting flyers. Callaway in this set, they've got a new groove size that's trying to reduce flyers. So that's given me the green light to go back into a head that I just think is gorgeous. So looking down at it, I feel like it's really playable. Should give me a little more forgiveness than the blade. Shouldn't have issues with the spin. And it's going probably slightly further. You know, I've done a gap testing video with these already. You'll see the distances are slightly longer than they were, but I like the gapping. You know, it's not all about distance, but gapping is really important to me, and I feel like the gapping I'm getting from these are great. I'm going to these in 5 iron, and then I go into the UT iron. So the UT, I've got the 21 and the 24. I love the Apex ones. The main change is obviously they're the same spec as the irons, and these heads are, you know, like this 21, like I got Megan on the camera, you know, you were at an event with me. This 21 is a machine, isn't it?
Yeah, you hit that, what, 245, 50?
Yeah, 240 in the air, so it makes it a great utilization to keep it in play off the tee and not be too far back. I've got the 24. I might look at just putting the 4 iron in. So the reason I had the 24 last year was I had the blade, so I went into 24 to try and increase gapping. I might be able to do that with the 4 iron. You know, I had so much success with the 24 last year in the Apex. I decided just to do like for like. You know, I will at a later date maybe look into that. But yeah, these are fantastic. If we go into the wedges, which are here. So usually when I go wedges, I alternate between the colors. You know, the color, the finish isn't really going to change the performance too much. I had chrome last time. I usually would then go into more of the darker finish, but something about these just resonated with me. I don't know what it is. It's not science, it's art. And I just saw them, I think it was at the PGA show, and just really like the look of the chrome. These ones, so the Mac Daddy 3 is a good wedge, but last year at the PGA show, I saw the forged version for the first time, and I just thought they were one of the most stunning wedges I've ever seen, but they had no bounce options. So they would have looked great in my bag, but they would have taken me to Duff City. So they weren't an option, but what they seem to have done in this Mac 4 is taken the looks and that nip groove from the forged and put it into this head. So I am loving life. I've gone wide with the 54 and the 50, and then the 58 they're offering an X grind now, which is still got the benefits of the wide, but it's got a bit of C taper, the C grind I should say. So that should help when you're like opening and closing the face. You can kind of take the bounce off if you need. Because I get quite steep with my iron shots, you know, the wide bounce is something that I am really for. If you're somebody that does get steep or gets worried about duffing it, I would always go for more bounce rather than less. But these ones, same spec, only difference is the 58 has got a stiff shaft, not an X. Just what a lot of the tour pros do. Because you're playing smaller shots, it gives you a bit more feel. I'm basically copying a tour pro. That's probably one of the only things I have in common with them. Stop laughing, Megan. So let's get in to this one. So this one has a nickname, Luke Skywalker, because I put Sky Mark in it, probably the third time I ever hit it. And comment down below, there's somebody out there. It is the worst feeling as a golfer to get a new club and put a Sky Mark in your new pride and joy. I did it with this one. It wasn't funny at the time, but I've moved on with life, and I've accepted that, yes, the Sky Mark flush in the middle, because obviously I'm a good player. I've gone for the Rogue forward. So this is a massive change because I had a strong 3-wood last year. I give the advice to so many of my students, and if I'm doing a fitting myself, that they should go for a 4-wood rather than a 3-wood, because it's quite hard to get the 3-wood launching. So I've been giving that advice out for quite a while, so I thought maybe I should take my own advice. So I've gone forward to try and, like I said, get the ball up in the air, just make it easier to hit. And then I've got a hazardous yellow, which is very heavy, just to make sure that that flight isn't ballooning. So the heaviness in the shaft should try to keep the flight down. The loft and the jailbreak should give me enough ball speed and launch and keep it in place. So I'm very much trying to put something in the bag that I can utilize alongside my driver and my 21. I have gone longer in this club as well, and I need to do some testing with this one. I haven't actually done testing. I really like the look of it and have been hitting it, but I do need to do a bit of testing just to check how far this club is going. But first impressions, beautiful looking club, and hopefully it should be able to do some good things for me. On to the driver. The thing that will always stay in my bag is the Buzzington Bear. What an ally. If we were on the front line, he'd be there next to me. Probably whispering insults into my ear about how I shouldn't be there, but nevertheless, close friend. Always keep your friends close. So I'm going to pop him down there and talk about this one. So Rogue Sub-Zero. So I've got it at 9. I haven't actually messed around with any of the settings. I've got the weight, so the heavier weight back, and I've got it all set up as standard. I was a little worried when I ordered this one. A reason being is I was hitting my standard epic so well, and I didn't hit the epic Sub-Zero quite as well as the standard epic. So I was thinking, is this going to be a particularly good change? Because the Rogue is a slightly bigger profile, I didn't want to go into the standard Rogue, so I ordered this head thinking it should do a job, but I will say I was a little worried. As soon as I started hitting it, that worry went. This thing is fantastic. You know, beautiful flight, and really, really happy with it. I've got a Synergy Adilla X in it. This is the stock X shaft. Only difference is I've gone half an inch longer. I was finding last year that a lot of my contacts were in the toe, so going slightly longer should kind of aid that. You know, the way that I swing, and if you can think of my swing, I get a bit Sergio, I get a bit of that dropping this way. Nice positive thing to do, and it means that I can probably handle a slightly longer shaft. So if you're at home and you're hitting it out the toe, I'm not saying just go longer and that will solve the problem, because if you go longer you might not be able to control the shaft length and it could be a issue. We'll leave it at there. So whenever you're looking at shaft lengths, a lot of people go shorter because it gets better contact. I found I've gone longer, and I'm really loving this driver. I will do a separate video getting some spin numbers, because there are a few things I could change around to optimize it, but all in all, like I say, very happy. This one's feeling good. I feel like I can hit it nice and hard off the tee, so I can exploit my distance or use my 21 if I have to keep in play. There's no kind of just trying to keep this one in play. This is my big dog. Onto the putter. So my putter, so this one went into the bag at the end of last year. It's an O-Work 7 red. You know, I really like the red. You know, I don't think there's much science behind it. You know, a black look should look a bit more compact, but I wouldn't say the red look looks any bigger. Very popular on tour. You know, it's just a really nice look. I've got tour weights in the bottom of this one, so they're slightly lighter than standard. And what I have done here is I've got a Rosemark Lydia Co grip. I'm not sure if she's still using this one, but I put this one on probably a month ago, maybe a bit longer. You know, time flies when you're having fun. But it's a real nice grip, and very much like a Super Stroke, so it's got that bigness to it. Very light, so you don't want to put a big chunky grip on one end if it changes all of the balance of the head. So really well made grip. But where this one differs is the way it's designed is it sits in your hand, so you shouldn't put too much pressure down. It encourages you not to put pressure. So I'm just liking it. You know, again, have I done a scientific test and found that it improves pressure by that? No, but I slipped it on here, and I've been enjoying it. I've spent a bit of time on our Sand Putt Lab here. I actually took a lot of loft off of this putter. I went down to 0 because I hit up quite a bit, and because I've had problems with my putting in the past, I didn't want to compromise my face alignment and anything else, because that's been very good, by trying to change the angle of attack. So I try to take a bit of loft off, and I probably took a little too much off, so I've actually put a little bit more back on now. It's probably at 2 degrees of loft, and I flattened it slightly compared to where it was when I first received it. But yeah, this putter has been feeling good. I've been rolling the ball nicely. I'm hoping I'm going to hold some putts over the summer with this bad boy. So finally, so that's all the clubs, like the things that are in the bag. You know, let's get into my pocket. In my bag, which then subsequently went into my pocket. So in my pocket, Chrome Soft X. You know, I've done lots of videos on this ball. I think it's a really good ball. You know, I like the update. Makes perfect sense for me to use the X rather than the standard. So, you know, liking the feel slightly better than the previous ball, but from a performance standpoint, I'm never going to change out of the X into the other one. You know, this one, it just makes perfect sense for me to use. One of these, clean your clubs, you know, get those grooves nice and clean, really going to help your performance. And then finally, Callaway leather glove. I've always used this one since I've been with Callaway. You know, great glove, but it's so hot and humid here in Florida. In a month's time, although I prefer the feel of leather, I might have to start considering synthetic, because an English boy in Florida sweats, and they sweat from everywhere. So I might need to go into a synthetic / waterproof glove. But these are my equipment for 2018. If I make any changes and if I do any testing, I will keep you updated on the channel. But that is all of my stuff. If you have any questions, please feel free to get some comments down below. And if you're somebody that's looking at making a change, you know, I hope you get the feel for what I've done in this video is I have made a lot of changes, but there's been justification for it. You know, if you're somebody that's making a change and is a bit in between where to go, get some comments down below because I might be able to help give you that clarity on which one is going to maybe give you your best results. Thanks for watching. Hope to catch you soon.